From Fox 32 Chicago Sports, this is Chicago Sports Tonight.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Chicago Sports Tonight. Luke and Ellis with you. Bears do little right against a desperate 1-5 Ravens team with their third-string quarterback. Losing in Baltimore 30-16. Tina wins alongside the scores. Laurence Holmes in the house. Good to see you, Laurence. ESPN Radio's Chris Bleck here as well. Bears weren't right on the opening kickoff when Josh Blackwell got called for a hold. Dominique Robinson was injured, and they never got it right all day, did they, Tina?
No, and Ben Johnson talked about it this past week, saying we have yet to play a complete game, and today was proof of it, right? I mean, the defense focused a lot on stopping Derrick Henry, but the cornerback secondary is banged up, right? I was curious to know what this team was going to do when they can't force turnovers, and obviously right now they're banged up in the secondary. But you look at the red zone issues, the penalties. We keep harping about these things. We talk about them week after week. That's got to get fixed, man.
There was this feeling of dread on the first two drives. You're like, this is exactly the way it's supposed to look. Here's Ben Johnson's script. Look at them get up and down the field, and then they get into the red zone.
And you knew it.
And you felt it.
You knew it.
Yeah, you felt that something was not right, that if they settled for field goals instead of touchdowns, that they were going to get run down, and they got run down.
16 trips in the red zone. These last 4 games, they've only scored 5 touchdowns.
It's one of those things. You see Tyler Huntley as the quarterback, and you think, wow, the Bears are really going to have a great day today. And like Laurence said, once you don't score those touchdowns on the first 2 possessions, you knew you needed to stack some points there. This defense is not good enough. 32nd in defensive yards per play this season in the NFL. You have to get turnovers. They didn't do that, and we saw exactly what takes place when that happens.
All right, I want to go to Ben Johnson's post-game press conference to start things off because there is something that Johnson said that really caught my attention. Here's Ben Johnson.
Give Baltimore a lot of credit. You know, they came out and they played a physical brand of football just like you would expect. They were hungry. They were determined, and truth be told, I expected a little bit more out of our squad to counter that. The penalties, to me, is what stands out first and foremost. You know, we still have some of the pre-snap issues. It adds up, and it hurts us. We get away with it occasionally, but it's just not the way you win in this league. And so I think, I really put it on the leaders there in that locker room to get this ship going the right direction in that regard. Us coaches, we've been pounding that drum now for a while, and we haven't gotten the results we wanted.
The majority is shooting ourselves in the foot. Penalties, misalignment, misexecution on a play. I don't think there's ever been an instance where we've not had a penalty, and executed the play properly where we haven't scored touchdowns in the red zone. So we got to get back to that.
We got to score touchdowns instead of field goals that come back and bite us. That's really what I know we need to focus on for sure. And the penalties, they keep showing up, so got to eliminate that.
Laurence, he said he wasn't satisfied with his team's effort. Do you think he's saying, hey, listen, this team went in figuring no Lamar, no problem?
Well, they can't have, because remember, they didn't find that out until they were done with walkthroughs yesterday. And that's kind of the crazy part about this. There were some sort of shenanigans that have been going on with him being the scout team. He was basically Caleb Williams all week. And then you find out that he's not going to be available to play. So I don't think it was that. I think it's a concentration issue. But I will say that he's got to be careful with we've been saying it, now the leaders have to take it over. This is still your first year as a coach. We're not even halfway through the season. You might still have to keep saying some of these things to get the point across.
Go ahead.
You also kind of wonder, right, in that situation with leaders and a new coaching staff, how many of the guys who have been here for a while maybe are not fitting with what they want from their type of player, right? There are some guys who maybe you questioned last season under Eberflus. We're still here, and maybe they're not all pulling from the same end of the rope or something.
Here's what upsets me, guys. Even with Tyler Huntley, this was an awful Ravens defense. That is no excuse for what I saw offensively from this Bears team. Last in the league in points allowed, 30th in quarterback rating, 26th against the run, 28th against the pass, tied for last in sacks, and you deliver just 1 touchdown. Tina.
Yeah, first game where they don't score 21 or more points. I mean, Caleb Williams today, these last few games, he has not been great. But I think for me, I look at like the first 2 drives were great, right? It looked like, okay, they're kind of getting into a good rhythm, momentum, but then you have the intentional grounding, the false start on Colston Leveland, man. I mean, we talk about it week after week, but those penalties, they're killing the momentum of those drives and just the tempo overall.
And remember, they got healthy too. Like, that's the other part. Everyone kind of thinks about it just being an issue with Lamar. Roquan was gone for a couple of weeks, too. That guy matters. He matters. There's a reason that he's an all-pro.
Kyle Hamilton was out there as well.
That's right.
He's a player.
And you saw how many times they blitzed him off the edge, and they used him to move Caleb. Now, a couple of times the Bears caught him on that, but it was an effective strategy. Once Zach Orr figured out exactly what the Bears were doing, he countered, and the Bears didn't seem to counter back.
But, Laurence, this was a real bad defense, man. The Texans posted 44 on them. 4 of the 6 games, the opponents had more than 37. I'm expecting more than just 1 touchdown.
Yeah, so am I. And the fact that the Bears coming into this week lead the league in big plays, and the fact that they had a couple today, but they just petered out once they got to the red zone. They just couldn't convert to get to the end zone. So I think it's definitely a concern. And I think a lot of people this week, a talking point with fans is going to be the concern with Caleb. It's 2 weeks in a row where he seems to struggle, and the moment the defense throws anything at him, he kind of falls apart. The process, the false starts, everything kind of falls with that. It all kind of comes together.
All right, we're going to get to Caleb coming up in the second segment. Jaquan Brisker and Kevin Byard were the only 2 starters healthy in that Bears secondary. Brisker agreed with his coach, saying that he and his teammates lacked the fire needed to win in Baltimore today.
That we should have played how we should have played, or type of brand offense, defense, special teams, and we didn't come out with that same fire like we did the last 4 games. To me, I feel like it was just more of a slower game. We kind of played their hand. They ran the ball. Had certain passes for him that made him comfortable with things like that. So I feel like we just played into their hand today.
It sucks when it is self-inflicted, but on the positive side, at this point in the season, it's things that you can see on the film, and see things that you can fix. And the key is not making the same mistake twice and applying some of the hard learned lessons so we can have a better outcome in the future.
We knew what type of game it was going to be. We just didn't execute the way we needed to. Too many self-inflicted wounds, penalties, the same type of stuff just keep rearing us in. So. We'll watch the film. We get it corrected. No time to sulk and pout. We got another road game that we got to go get out there in Cincinnati. So.
All right, guys, last couple of minutes. Red zone, by the way, a problem. Capitalized 10 of 20 times. Coming into the game, 50%. First drive, Williams sacked for a 9-yard loss on 3rd and 5. Second drive, you go 61 yards, and you settle for another field goal. Here's the question, Laurence. Are guys not getting open? Are guys not executing? Is it the wrong play calling inside the red zone? What is it?
I think it's just the field shrinks a little bit, and everyone's got to get calibrated to that. I don't think that it's an issue of the guys not doing what they're supposed to do. The other team gets paid too, and they did a good job, and all the teams have done a good job of shutting them down. The penalties thing is huge to me. Chris, I don't know how you feel about it, but if you keep ending up in a situation like that, how are you ever going to score?
Yeah, you can't, right? And I think some of the play calling also is questionable, right? You run the ball well to get down there, and then it's like you're now running out of shotgun at the goal line. Like, get the big bodies in there and try and move some people. They've done that successfully the last couple of weeks.
Tina, give me that number again, just so I remember what that number was in the red zone.
16 times in the red zone in the last 4 games, only 5 touchdowns. I mean, you look at, like, when you practice throughout the week, you have a day where you focus solely on the red zone, right? I think this coaching staff, you need to put a better emphasis on figuring things out in the red zone here, because that's ridiculous. Come on.
Well, he talked about penalties, Laurence, and he said, I'm going to start leaning on my leaders. I mean, what can a coach and a coaching staff do? We're 7 games into the season, and I find Ben Johnson and Dennis Allen, maybe Declan Doyle as well, but Declan's a little younger. But the first 2 guys, man, these guys know what they want, and they better get it. And the pre-snap penalties have to stop.
They do, but you also have new personnel that you're working out there too, where you're pulling Ozzie Trapillo, making him your H-back. You have Theo Benedek, who's really this is third start ever. Like, those things matter. And you have a quarterback who's in a new system. And I know that we want it all to work immediately, but that stuff takes some time and some rhythm to get going. Still, it needs to be better, because Tina's is right. Like, that is ridiculous.
Throughout the week, practice week, or even in games, if you know, the momentum, or if we got to find a way to get in the end zone. And we got to find a way to stop the bleeding when you start bleeding. And I think I can do a better job with that, helping out and leading these guys.
This Bears discussion brought to you by High Definition by Xfinity, introducing the 5-year price guarantee. One consistent internet price for the next 5 years, guaranteed. All right, Caleb Williams outplayed today by third-string quarterback Tyler Huntley, and I'll start with you, Chris, this time. He's keeping his eyes downfield. Did you see more opportunities for him to run today opposed to the last couple of games? I know he had the 122-yard scramble, but other than that, he really didn't tuck it and take off.
No, and I think the Ravens did a good job of really containing him and kind of making him just have mistakes, right? Like, Caleb is good enough to make plays. I don't know if he's good enough to go win a game by himself, and it seems like he's just getting in his own way. The play at the end of the half where he's running and could have gone out of bounds, instead he takes a knee and falls to the ground just shy of getting out of bounds. Like, that to me is one of those situations with Caleb where he's too much in his head, right? They've drilled in him to get down, don't take hits. So he's out there running, gaining yardage, and he goes to the ground when the smart play would have been get to the sideline, don't waste the time out there. Maybe you get more yardage, and, you know, we have a kicker here in town who can't kick 55 plus, right? So it didn't work out at the end.
Well, the guy that was dressed today can't.
Yeah, the guy that was dressed today, right?
I'm not going to get on Cairo for that.
Come on.
You're in a fire drill in that situation. Probably shouldn't have had to kick a 58-yard field goal after sprinting onto the field.
More yardage would have been helpful, though, right?
Yes,
so if Caleb
agreed.
gets out of bounds, maybe you get more yards, and then you get the opportunity.
Yeah, and even with the end of the game situation, where it just looked like no one really had an idea of what was going on, and then you have Caleb on the quarterback sneak go all the way out to the tackle. That is not how that is drawn up, and they're all just kind of sitting there like, well, wait, what are we supposed to do?
Ravens were the worst team at getting to the quarterback coming into this game.
Yeah,
and then you've got 2 intentional grounding penalties on Caleb Williams. Reckless.
I do want to add this about Caleb Williams. I think, big picture, Young still has a long career ahead of him. And I think with someone like Ben Johnson, I feel good about his progress and where he can go. However, when you listen to some of the post-game press conference, he often says, you know, we're not on the same page, right? We're not on the same page. Personally, I'd like to see him be a little bit more aggressive and get those guys on the same page, man. This is a critical time for you to grow as a quarterback and as a leader.
Well, guys, I'm a little worried because his completion percentage has drastically gone down over the last 4 weeks. Why has he struggled like this?
Because there are a lot of misses. If you look at some of the numbers around Caleb, his targeting is not great. You see he leads in missed throws.
But accuracy was an issue.
Accuracy in college is different than accuracy in the NFL. And what a lot of defenses have now figured out is that they usually give him a diet of drop 7, drop 8. And now they're speeding him up with showing blitz, and he has to determine where the blitz is coming from. And again, I thought there were some moments when they did a good job of going behind the blitz, especially with Kyle Hamilton on the edge. But people kind of know. The other thing is, and I'm not trying to be a hater because I love Rome and I'm jealous of his hair. I used to have hair like that back in the day. But that play on the sideline, elite wide receivers make that catch. The one where Caleb scrambles and he throws
Rome's made that catch this season.
I know. In that situation, you want a guy to make a play for you, and he didn't make that play. But Caleb's got, the thing is, here's the beautiful part about it. There is a lot of time, and the progress doesn't have to be linear. What sucks for Caleb, though, is that the progress kind of was linear until 2 weeks ago. And now you're seeing it hit a bit of a plateau, and you have to figure out how he's going to get out of it.
Did you guys think he waited too long to get DeAndre Swift involved in the offense, lathered up?
I mean, if you look at the numbers overall, he didn't have a big day.
Not at all.
For them.
And you wonder if it was because of the injury, because he was on the injury report during the week.
You didn't have a lot of other options, though.
No.
So I'm not sure why you wouldn't go to him.
How about the defensive secondary? You guys happy with the way they played?
Oh, God.
Blackwell?
Yeah, I mean,
McLeod?
I think they played it well enough. And if you call the offensive pass interference at the end, the Bears actually have a chance there to force the turnover and get the ball back. So I think it was okay.
What I'm not happy with is that was a strength of this team going in.
Yep.
Yeah. And with all the injuries, like now you're talking about your 5th, 6th, 7th combination of guys. The Kyler Gordon thing, you saw what that defense looks like when he's healthy. And not having him changes the entire geometry of what Dennis Allen can do.
But the next 3 games, actually, they have a bit of a benefit because you're going up against old man Joe Flacco.
Yeah, but he's got Chase and T. Higgins, though. You know how many times?
You still got to get the ball to him.
And he's been doing that. I think Chase was targeted today 17 times in the game, and in the first game, I think it
lost.
But they scored 38 points.
Yeah, they did.
They put up 38 points against this Bears team.
Well, then at least you got the Vikings and Giants after that, before Kyler Gordon can come back against Pittsburgh. So I'm looking for a positive.
Yes, you're looking for something.
Lawrence, I'm looking for a positive.
It's tough to win on the road in the NFL.
Bears had a chance to move into a tie with the Lions for first place in the NFC North. Instead, they remain in 3rd. Vikings, they didn't lose their 3rd game last season till the final game of the regular season. Laurence, what do you think? Are they going to be able to turn it around with J.J. McCarthy and a beat-up Carson Wentz?
I don't think so. I think that J.J. is, even though he had a year to kind of learn, I think the experience of him playing is significant, and the fact that he hasn't played is going to keep them from kind of getting to where they want to be.
Are they worthy of the Tina Wynn bet?
Oh, come on
What'd
now.
you bet?
I didn't bet on them today, but I know we're going to talk about the Cowboys in a little bit because I did take them plus 3.5, and boy, do I
That wasn't
look
a good
like
idea.
Fool right now. I will say with the Vikings, though, when I look at that team, obviously the injuries, depth issues, because that offensive line, starters out, backups in, man, they can't protect, they can't sustain drives, but J.J. McCarthy, is he really hurt? Come on. And
he's a tough watch right now. Other than that half against the Bears, our scores around the league are brought to you by your Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana Kia dealers. Visit Kia.com to discover movement that inspires. I want to look at some scores from around Week 8 in the NFC North. Lions again have a bye. Packers currently taking on the Steelers on Sunday Night Football. Thursday, we touched on it. Vikings got drubbed by the Chargers. Kevin O'Connell says J.J. McCarthy, yes, will start next week if he's healthy. What does that mean?
if he's healthy.
All right, after a tumultuous week with Woody Johnson calling out Justin Fields, the former Bears quarterback helped deliver the Jets their first win this season. Victory over the Bengals, an emotional victory for the franchise, too, after former center Nick Mangold died today of complications from his kidney disease. Chicago, by the way, the Bears are in Cincinnati next week. Big D was in Mile High. As Tina referenced, Broncos handled the Cowboys 44-24. Bo Nix with 4 touchdown passes. NFC East showdown, Giants, Eagles, Philadelphia gets revenge on their division rival from an earlier loss this year. And bad news for the Giants and rookie running back. Boy, their sensation there, Scatterbo, boy, he left the game with a dislocated ankle, and it was ugly. Was there one game, guys, I'll start with you, Chris, that stuck out today for you?
I thought Miami being left for dead in all the turmoil that they've had so far this season and the performance that they put on, that was pretty impressive, I thought.
Especially with the idea that maybe the Ravens were saving Lamar
for Thursday
instead of today, which was weird.
Did you have a game that you liked?
Jets-Bengals, like immediately went to that to see, because the ageless wonder wanted to see what Joe Flacco was doing, and then all of a sudden, here come Justin and the boys. They're marching down the field with an opportunity to win. I was happy to see that. He's a good kid who's been through a rough week.
By the way, before, Tina, you give me the game that caught your attention, I want you to hear Fields, because you said you didn't have the opportunity to hear Justin Fields at his press conference following the game.
I'm going to get pretty vulnerable right here, but this week I kind of, I found myself in my closet crying on the ground, laying down, not because of Not because of the hardships, not because of the troubles. I felt like, I was built to handle that, and I was put in place to handle this situation. But in that moment when I was talking to my best friend, how hard it was, and just, not wavering faith-wise, I just had gotten a text from my sister and my stepmom, and it was just an encouraging text on, just keep going and keep spreading the faith, and they just sent me a link on social media, and I tell you guys all the time that I'm not on social media, so I didn't see it. So that was just it was just a sign from God for me to keep going, and that I'm in the right place.
Heavy stuff, man. You said it during the commercial break that if you were friends with Justin Fields, you would have said, I don't care about the money. New York is not the right spot.
No, and it's surprising to see how quickly. It's one thing for fans, I get that, but for ownership to be that vocal about kind of what's going on with the guy is, and this is something the NFL teams.
Alex Smith ripped him on ESPN.
Yeah.
Ripped ownership in New York.
Yeah, NFL teams have got to get used to the fact that this generation of quarterbacks is a little bit more open with their feelings, and they're going to share it. And you're going to look like the bad guy in a situation like that. It's one thing to criticize the play. It just seemed out of place for ownership to be that demonstrative.
Tina, what caught your attention today?
Cowboys and Broncos, not because I had money on it, but I watched this Broncos team. I'm like, okay, they're the best and worst team in the National Football League all at the same time. But I had some faith in the Cowboys offense and took them plus 3.5 today, and I look like an idiot.
World Series shifts to L.A. tomorrow, Tuesday and Wednesday between the Dodgers and Blue Jays. L.A. evened up the series last night thanks to their $325 million starter, Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Who's got the Dodgers running the table after losing Game 1?
It does feel like a gentleman's sweep is coming, but those bats for Toronto, you can't
never know,
count them
right?
out because they can bench hit and they pitch well enough to be competitive.
Even against Ohtani when he pitches in Game 4?
Oh, that's the greatest player maybe who's ever lived. We'll see how they do.
Toronto figured something out against Blake Snell, though. I was really surprised by that one. I mean, the Dodgers led the National League in home runs in the regular season, all-time start in pitching to hide a suspect bullpen. I've got L.A.
You're Miss Basketball. Are you surprised the Bulls are 2-0 after their wins over Detroit and Orlando?
Yes, I am. But the bench last night, 58 points. They're doing this, by the way, without Kobe White. So I am shocked.
Patrick Williams.
He had a game
Here is
last
your
night.
table.
Hey,
How about that?
They're making him earn it, though.
Yeah.
The first game, he was the 8th guy.
Yeah.
So he's not just being given something. So let's see if at this point we can all get the Patrick Williams we've been dying to get.
Well, where are we going? We're 2-0 right now. What kind of year is this? Is this
We'll
team
take
going
it.
to shock people?
I don't think
over-under
it's-
is 33 and a half
I think
wins.
they'll go over the win total, but we'll probably end up in the same place in March, and we'll be sitting here and be like, oh, yes, you guys excited for the play-in?
Is Isaac Okoro ever going to score?
No.
He doesn't need to.
That's not the type of player he is.
That's right. He's a defensive.
Yeah.
Just give me a bucket. He's over right now. He's over for 2 weeks. All right, that is it for Chicago Sports Tonight. For Tina, Laurence, and Chris, thanks for watching. I'm Luke Canellis.
From Fox 32 Chicago Sports, this is Chicago Sports Tonight.